But Night Fighter it's a data dump. I mean, it's collegiate level stuff. Like even my dad and I, he doesn't really understand the world I come from, because they're a bunch of, Democrats and everything back in, Central Texas. But he came out to the lecture portion of Night Fighter. And I never went to college other than the semester. And
interesting.
My dad was like,
awesome.
He always harped on college education. If you don't have college education, you'll never be successful. And he sat through the lecture portion. He was like,
mind blown.
How do you know this?
Yeah.
Like, this is, and my dad's not a night vision guy, nor is he a gun guy, but he was like, God, I thought you had to go to college for this stuff. I was like, well, there's the internet now, Dad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, well, yeah, of course. I'm like, and a lot of this stuff we teach in the military.
Yeah, it's experiential too. Yeah.
So he was like, oh, wow, you really are, a subject matter expert in this stuff. And that was kind of cool. Like,
I bet.
My dad's like, okay, I don't have to worry about you, kind of thing. And he hasn't since I was 18, but
I get it.
He got a little bit of peek in behind the curtain of my world, and he was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
I'm a dad too. And, I'm proud of my daughter. I want her to be proud of me too. So,
right.
I get that. One of the things that you guys do also is the Night Ops Summit.
Correct.
Yep. Which is an annual thing. I got invited out to it. You guys invited me out last year, for this year.
And you were like,
well, no, I knew
CRW going on.
CRW was the weekend before, and it was just going to be, there's going to be no way I could do that trip. Do that trip is literally like,
what's crazy
overlap. Yep.
is there's a high likelihood Don's doing CRW this next year.
That's awesome.
And then he's gonna
go back. He's gonna fly back.
Oh yeah, it'd be balls to the wall.
Yeah, we had a great time at CRW, but I knew I didn't want to stack myself too thin, and I'm glad I didn't, because when I go to these things, I really want to be all in. I want to completely be immersed in it. But it's interesting, like when I was back, when I saw you guys out in the Atlanta area, there were so many people that came up to me and said, so you come to Night Ops? You come to Night Ops? You got to come to this thing. Those people that go, they're like, this is like the premier event. You have to come. Whatever else. They were doing a really good job of pitching it to come out there. And this, some of the things that people see you doing, and whether that's at this particular course or anything else, seems like there's a lot of helicopters involved.
There's one.
Yeah.
I don't say a lot.
Well, I just mean kind of what I see you guys doing.
Sure.
But there's some aviation stuff that's included. And can you talk about that? Just give us
absolutely. So, Green Line has partnered with Airborne Tactical. We actually have a pretty long storied history with Airborne Tactical. We did stuff with him when I was at TNVC.
Okay.
Paul Barth is the chief pilot and owner of the company. Paul is a phenomenal pilot. He's night vision qualified, so he can fly, under nods, which is kind of what we need him for. But he can do it all. He can sling load stuff. He can, he's got a camera on the bird. He can do really nice, aerial video and stuff like that. He's done a bunch of commercials for big name companies like Nissan and some other other big name companies. But Paul is in terms of helicopters in the Southeast region, everybody knows who Paul Barth is. He has a great track record. He doesn't have any like Class A mishaps or anything like that. He's a great pilot. His crew chief Angel is a former 160th SOAR guy.
Got it.
And even Angel's like, Paul's the best pilot I've ever flown with. Anyway, so it was a easy thing. And actually Paul reached out to a mutual buddy client of ours, and that client was like, hey, Paul is very interested in talking to you and working with you, i.e. Green Line Tactical, about doing some stuff. He's like, he thinks that you have some clientele that might be interested in the stuff that we could offer as a team. So we had some conference calls, and aerial gunnery came up. And so, Don, when he was in the Rangers and SF, obviously he was flying around on little birds, and has done some of that stuff. And then obviously me with my aircrew background, flying helicopters, I've got some time on H3s and 53s as well, in addition to P3s. So I've got kind of the aviation piece covered down. We went down to his hangar and went through his certification program.
Okay.
Or a certification program, depending on how I want to think about it. But and then also helped develop some SOPs for what we were going to do. There's a bit of flying involved, a bit of static ground training involved, some classroom stuff, emergency procedures, all that stuff. So based on that, I went back and I just started designing some curriculum around that. Obviously, Don was in the mix too. So I say we, and then our buddy Eric Butler also went through the program. And if you ever meet Eric, he's a good dude. He's a SWAT cop, and actually he was a SWAT cop. Now he works for the Marshals, but he has pretty good LE background. Anyway, we get it all together. We announce this class. We're going to do it in Central Tennessee. It's going to be a daytime aerial gunnery class, and kind of what I would say separates the Green Line aerial target engagement class from some of the other ones out there is you are actually riding exterior on the bird, like on benches. There's a lot of places you can shoot from a helicopter inside the helicopter, but it's a completely different feeling. You know, you get the rush of the wind and you get the G forces as the bird turns and descends and ascends and dives. And, you know, Paul will fly certain profiles that are, I have not seen anybody doing some of the stuff that we do, and certainly not at night. And we did a class at the, tactical response. That was, you know, James Yeager's place.
Yeah. What's it called down there? Is it tactical response?
Yeah. It's in Camden, Tennessee. And we had access to the whole property. So we had multiple gunnery range. We have cars set up and targets in the cars. We had, you know, targets out in the open.
Fun.
You know, you're doing orbits. Paul can basically slip the helicopter, so he'll cock the nose over and then he'll descend this way. So if you're on the bench, you're actually firing forward because you're moving forward and diving in on these targets. It's wild. It was awesome.
Fun.
And then, you know, when he banks out this way, if you're on this side of the helicopter, you just lean back and enjoy it. If you're on this side, you're like, oh, I mean, it's not, you're belted in.
Yeah, gotcha.
But for most of these folks that they've never flown on a helicopter, much less shot a firearm from these helicopters.
Let's talk.